All right, thanks for tuning in to NFL Championship Sunday Talk on the OFN Today as the top two seeds in each conference attempt to earn a sixth consecutive trip to the Super Bowl. Ted Sevransky of Covers.com and I will preview both games with updated odds, injury news, picks, and more. As the OFN Today for this Thursday, the 17th of January, 2019, starts now. This edition of the OFN Today is brought to you by ourlads.com, home of the best depth charts on the net, and Covers.com, featuring live scores, stats, and odds, and is considered the most convenient and entertaining source for sports news and facts, with over 45 million visits a year. All right, so Ted, since New Orleans was your preseason Super Bowl pick, how confident are you that you're going to be able to cash in on that? 2 games to go.
Modestly.
And they were 14-1.
I would say they have a better than 25% chance.
Yeah, that's being pretty sarcastic. No,
I'm not being sarcastic. I'm saying there's 4 teams left, and they have a better than 25% chance, which is all I can ask for at this stage.
That is true. No.
There was no sarcasm in that whatsoever.
It's just a fact. And by the way, they are the favorite, so that's a good thing. So if you had them at 14-1 to win the Super Bowl in the beginning of the year on a futures bet, then you're in that kind of area where you can be hedging at this point. So not that the other odds are all that great, because we've got the top 2 seeds again for the 6th straight year. So there's no big long shot. There's no 7 or 8 to 1 shot. But still, I guess this is one of those things where you'd have to be pretty confident about one of the other games in the AFC, or maybe even a New Orleans opponent, the Rams.
Well, when you talk about hedging, and this is something, again, many beginning bettors, they've heard the term, they kind of know what it is, they kind of know how to do it. The concept of hedging is when you want to lock in some profit. You have one good bet that you made earlier, and now at good odds, and now you're going to lock in a profit no matter what happens. That works great when you've got teams at 20-1 and 30-1 and 50-1. You can put some money line down on the other team. You can get back your original wager. You can put yourself in good position that you're going to make a profit regardless of what happens. When you start talking about, I've got a 7-1 ticket and I'm going to hedge against it in the championship game and then maybe hedge against it in the Super Bowl, you're taking all your profits and flushing them down the toilet. You really are. For any of these teams. If you've got a long shot future, yeah, you can hedge. If you're less than 10-1, I would hold my bet personally. Maybe you hedge in the Super Bowl, and maybe you don't cash anything. But to hedge it also, I've got this great 8-1, and I'm going to turn that into a 1 unit worth of profit. To me, that's not worth it. You got an 8-1, let it ride a little bit.
Yeah, actually, because see, the way I do it's very different. I mean, I do my futures sort of like as just a way to talk about it on through my reports and on other shows and things of that nature. So my goal is almost like to, obviously, I want to, like my teams, I'm always going to have my 1 or 2 or 3 teams that I really feel confident about. I'm getting at good prices. Those are going to be the ones I'm targeting for profits. And then I might have a bunch of other teams along the way that are my hedge teams that I have made sure earlier in the season or at midway point in the season when the odds are still pretty good that I'm hedging already with them. So those are the ones that, so like you said, because you can't wait until the last week of the season or in the playoffs to hedge, especially if you have to hedge in a season like this, like it's been the last 5 years, 6 years now running, where you have all the top 2 seeds making it to the championship round.
Yeah, and these were, I went back to my power ratings from mid-October. These were the top 4 teams.
Yeah, sure.
So it's not like these are upstarts. It's not like someone got hot down the stretch and got lucky to be here. These are the 4 best teams in the NFL this season.
Yeah.
Any one of them is capable of winning the Super Bowl, legitimately. There's no upstarts in here. So it's not a spot where, I'm happy to fade this team. They're not. They have no chance. It's not that situation this year. Every team, each of the 4 teams has a chance, not just to win this weekend, but to win it all. All that being said, being that we talk about the Saints and this, the Saints are home favorites. Therefore, their odds to win the Super Bowl are not 1-4. They're greater than that. And, of course, they're the biggest favorite this weekend. KC only 3, the Saints 3.5. So, and from a money line standpoint, there's a big difference between those two games. Everyone that's betting New England is betting New England on the money line. That's not necessarily the case for those who are betting the Rams. So there's a huge disparity for that half point when it comes to who's going to win the game in straight-up fashion.
And what is? I mean, the money lines are only like what? I mean, the New England money line can only be what, plus 130, plus 140.
Yeah, in that range. Give me 1 second.
I'm not a proponent for putting. And again, you're your big money player. That's different. But if you're a normal player, $50, couple $100. I mean, plus 130 is not enough for me. I know a lot of times teams don't win by less than 3, but there are teams that win by 3. And just to get your money back or to lose the vig, again, if you're only doing 50, couple $100, I'm taking the 3. I'm not going with the money line.
For KC or with the New England?
With New England at plus 130. If it's plus 130.
You can find better than that. You can shop around. You can find plus 145 if you shop around.
That's not bad. That's good. That's like the line I would draw where I would think about it. Yeah, plus 145 is not bad. Yeah.
Yeah. The prevailing number here in Vegas is the Superbook at minus 155 on KC, plus 135 on New England, and that's pretty much the prevailing number around town.
And by the way,
whereas when you look at the Saints, they're minus 180 and plus 160 on the Rams in that game, and that's a half-point difference between the two. Which shows how much money has come on New England money line here in Vegas. There's a lot. But the people that are betting the Patriots are taking them to win the game, not to cover the spread.
And by the way, based on our preseason show, not only did you have New Orleans to win the Super Bowl at 14-1, but you actually already part of our show. You already have your hedge because I asked for your sleeper. And your sleeper is the Chiefs at 35-1. So
Kansas City was a team that I'll just put it this way. Reading between the lines in the offseason, I was really high on Kansas City. I bet them over their season win total very early. I bet them to win the AFC West very early. I bet them pretty consistently in September and October. They've been a good team for me, and I am rooting for the Chiefs to win it all because I do have a Chiefs ticket in my pocket.
Well, do you worry too much? I know baseball, I mentioned this with Mark yesterday. I know that in baseball, you do have to concern yourself, especially definitely if you're doing totals. You have to concern yourself with who is the home plate umpire. That's important. Do your homework. I mean, does this guy constantly go, in games, is going over, going under? Does he have a small, big strike zone? That's important. But refs in NFL games, I can't imagine that's important unless you just want to use it for, I don't know, you just think it's just something that's cute, or you have, it's one of those things where it just happens to be, I have an issue with this because again, you can't be a serious handicapper and really care about it. You're just indifferent by it just because you are. And I bring it up because Bill Vinovich, when he refs LA games over his, since 2012, I guess maybe that's been since he's been a full-time ref, the Rams haven't won a game. They're 0-8. The Cleat Backman stuff with Deflategate means nothing because he was in the championship game last year with the Patriots and the Patriots won. So anybody that wants to think about that is he's going to screw the Patriots. That he was in the game last year and they won. So just forget that. But you can't take into account a team that's 0-8 when there's one of the refs on the field, right?
That's not going to be a difference maker for me when it comes to how am I going to bet the game. Because, look, the home plate umpire in baseball really affects the game flow.
Yes.
When they have a tight strike zone, you see pitchers getting frustrated. It's meaningful. When they have a wide strike zone, you see hitters getting frustrated. It's meaningful. Your past track record, what percentage of strikes, what percentage of called strikes do you have? Those are stats you can absolutely use that will help you beat baseball totals, period.
Yep.
When it comes to NFL refs, I know there's database stuff out there, but the ref's not the one who's pulling the trigger on the flags. There's other guys. There's a whole crew. In baseball, we don't worry about the crew. We worry about who's behind home plate.
Yeah.
In football, it's about the crew. So you say, oh, well, look at this ref. They haven't won. Or, oh, look, these guys, this ref has all these flags. Yeah, but he's not working with the same guys. When you're trying to find edges, and everyone's trying to find edges when it comes to sports betting, that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
When you can find what you think are edges all over the place, but what is actually predictive is what you're trying to isolate. Not what's happened in the past, but what's happened in the past that predicts how this is going to go out. For NFL refs, I found nothing. Absolutely nothing that says, okay, this is what they've done in the past, therefore this next game is going to be ref like that. Absolutely no correlation based on my experience.
Sure.
Maybe someone has something different. I'd be fascinated to hear if anyone has found anything good from handicapping the referees in the NFL. Personally, it's a complete non-factor. It's static, and there's so much in the modern marketplace. I mean, you know how it is, Greg. You know, I mean, there's literally, there's so much content out there from people that don't actually bet on sports for a living, that don't know what they're doing. They're trying to get in on the sports betting movement. A lot of it's crap, and everyone has to put it out. Oh, we got to get content. We got to get content. It's, you know, clickbait, click on the headline. It's nonsense. It really isn't anything that serious bettors are going to look at and spend much time with. And if you have, I'm all ears. Let me know. Send me a tweet at Teddy_covers.
All right. And, because one of the things we have to realize is that, especially now that gambling is legal and it's becoming even more legal outside of Vegas and so forth, and this is something that we're going to be getting involved with as the years go by even more so, and leagues and teams are taking gambling advertising and all that now. The reason I mention that is because there's no way the NFL is going to allow a referee that's, let's say, all right, one team can't win a game, which is usually it's a matter of luck. They're just not winning a game with this referee on the field. You cannot tell me that the NFL, the head officiating, the guy who's in charge of all this, isn't just going, oh, really? You know what? I didn't notice this. Let me now. You know what? This is my job. I got to take another look at these games and just check. Because I think you do. And I'm not saying anything is happening. I'm just saying I'm sure they do. Because that's how you find out if there is something happening. Is there a correlation in there? And then once they do and they find out there's nothing wrong here, and then there isn't. Because if there was, we would have heard about it. Or they just wouldn't allow this guy to be in the game. So the fact that he's in the game, it's clean. There's nothing wrong. It's just a coincidence.
Well, I mean, it's 2019. Okay?
Yeah.
Secrets are really hard to keep in this era. Uh-huh. Okay. So, there's this massive conspiracy, and everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
You know, good luck with that.
Right?
Someone somewhere would have written their tell-all by now.
Yeah.
It's just, massive conspiracies I'm not buying.
And by the way, the only reason I'm even bringing this up is not because I believe in it. It's because it's been written about online this week. And I just want to make sure that if anybody out there does think this is something that they should take into effect, or there is an issue, we've been doing this long enough just to let you know. Don't worry about it. It means nothing.
Well, I mean, there's an enormous demand for sports betting content right now, which means that anyone that says, "Oh, I know how to write about sports betting," boom, you got a gig. You're writing about it for someone, and then you're pumping out clickbait headline. Oh, look at this clip. Oh, that looks interesting. It's fluff. It's fodder. It's designed to sell advertising for the companies that own it. It's not designed to give you any useful information. Hopefully, this podcast will be different in that regard.
All right, let's go into these two games. And do you take into account at all, because I know you don't really care too much about previous years as much as Mark, so you have a completely different style. But do you at all take into account everything that New England has done in the past when it comes to how they've performed at home in the playoffs compared to how they've performed on the road in the playoffs, which has been completely different if you look at the historical numbers?
Well, let me ask you this, okay? We say the New England Patriots, right? You have Belichick and Brady.
Mm-hmm.
How many other Patriots were on the field, coaches
Sure.
or players, the last time they played a road playoff game?
Probably less than 10.
Yeah, exactly. And that was in 2015. That's one road playoff game. They played one road playoff game in 2013 as well. They lost that one as well, straight up and against the spread. And before that, they played a playoff game on the road. What? It's got to be like 2000 and I don't even know what it was. So this whole the Patriots are mediocre on the road. They played 2 road playoff games in the last 10 years.
Yeah, sure.
It's not meaningful. It's not meaningful even a little bit. New England this year on the road may be meaningful, but what the Patriots team did in 2000 I was looking at, they won at Pittsburgh in 2001. Yeah, okay, knock yourself out. You want to bet on that? That's your rationale for betting the Patriots? I'm not saying there's no rationale for betting the Patriots. There's all kinds of rationale for betting the Patriots, but or against the Patriots for that matter. But to look at some game from 2001 and say, New England they were dog at Pittsburgh and they went to the Super Bowl. It's not meaningful. It's static. It's just and again, even the 2 recent ones from 15 and 13. Both at Denver, both on the highway, both in the postseason. They lost them both. They didn't cover either one. One was favorite, one was a dog. Not relevant. Different years, different teams, different supporting casts. Brady and Belichick are the constants, no question. But to handicap this game, I'm looking at this year's Patriots team.
Sure.
And this year's Chiefs team, not what Patriots and Chiefs teams have done in years past.
And as far as how this game's got to go, and say what you want about it, the weather getting better, the fact is it's still going to be cold. So no matter what, it'll be cold. So, it'll be colder than normal, probably be the coldest day of the year for both teams. So that'll come into effect a little bit. But the fact is the big advantage the Patriots have is those two entities you already talked about. Belichick and Brady are still there. And Brady proved last week that he is still effective. He's a lot more effective than Peyton Manning was when he won his Super Bowl in Denver. So because of that is an advantage for New England coming into this game. Now, whether or not they'll be able to take advantage of it, who knows? But because Andy Reid's a very good coach, never won a Super Bowl, maybe this is his time. Patrick Mahomes, second playoff game ever. You can get the jinx or the pressure out of the way from Kansas City not being able to win home playoff games because they took care of business last week pretty emphatically. So that's out of the that's out of the equation. So when you look at this game, I think a couple things. First of all, for me, New England can't win this game unless they're able to run the football. That's just me. I just don't, because look, Brady cannot throw deep passes. He hasn't thrown deep passes in 8 years. He ain't doing it on Sunday. So, and you saw it last week. Gus Bradley, in my opinion, should have been fired. He should be fired because he was terrible. Belichick and McDaniels ate him for lunch. The Chiefs are going to play a different defense anyway. Chiefs are going to be pressing. They're going to force Brady to hold on to the ball, hopefully, a couple more seconds, or if he throws the ball as early as he wants to, maybe the lanes will be crowded more because guys are pressing. Maybe you'll get tip balls, interceptions, things of that nature. That's going to be different. That's why the Patriots must run the football. They cannot. Brady is not going to be able to beat him deep. And for the Chiefs, I think in order for them to be successful, Patrick Mahomes cannot turn the ball over. I mean, he can't have one of those games where he's 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. I mean, he's going to have to play a pretty clean game in order to win the game, and he's going to probably have to outperform Brady statistically in order to do that. Do you disagree with any of that? None of it.
I'll say this: the Chiefs aren't going to win if Mahomes doesn't outstat Brady.
Yeah.
But you say, New England's going to have to run the football. In case anybody hasn't noticed, that's what the Patriots are now.
Yeah.
Look at the back half of the season. It's not Tom Brady chucking the ball around. It's Tom Brady dumping it off to James White.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady handing it off to Sony Michel. And that's the Patriots offense. That literally is what and it's not last week. They've been doing that for the last 2 months. That's who they are right now. One thing we have to remember, and I don't want to put too much emphasis on the first meeting, but you can't forget the first meeting. And that first meeting, Kansas City, the one big play touchdown to Tyreek Hill, the one big play touchdown to Kareem Hunt, 2 defensive breakdowns for New England. Mm-hmm. You had Patriots turnover deep in their own territory, and then you had the kickoff return touchdown. 24 relatively cheap points for Kansas City out of the 40 that they scored.
True.
The Pats moved the ball up and down the field in that game against that Chiefs.
Yeah, Brady's
defense.
stat line looked very similar to last week. 340 and a
and,
touchdown.
and they were able to control the game. They were able to move the ball on the ground.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that sets things up for Brady. The Patriots, Brady and Belichick, it's New England's offensive line and their ability to run the football that's going to get them to the Super Bowl and or win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they have to.
Patriots correlate with under in this ball game, not over. If Mahomes goes nuts and gets Casey gets to 40 again, I don't see New England keeping pace with them.
No 43.
But I'm confident that Belichick's game plan here is going to be, let's run the football, let's keep that KC offense off the field. Given Belichick's track record at executing his game plan against opposing coaches, the Patriots may have a solid shot to do that. All that being said, New England, they're not coming from behind in this game. If KC jumps out to a lead, the Patriots are in big trouble.
Yeah.
And when we look at the Chiefs' defense in recent weeks, the season-long stats stink. They've been better down the stretch. They were certainly better last week at Indy, although interested to see how the cold. We know the Pats can play in the cold. And I love the Julian Edelman, bet against us trend on Twitter. I think that's it's brilliant for New England. But when it comes to playmakers, KC's got the offensive playmakers that the Patriots don't. And this is not a game where I would expect New England to be. They're down 28-3 like they were against the Falcons. They ain't coming back and winning this one.
No.
But if they're playing with the lead and they can run the football and keep that offense off the field, they could win the game by margin, and it'll stay under the total.
Yeah, what you also do, of course, is if the Patriots are behind and they are forced to throw the football, then all of a sudden you're stopping the run early in the game, could be even a 0-0 game. You're stopping the run. You're forcing Brady to have to throw the football on passing downs. It's trouble because then you let loose D Ford, Justin Houston, and those tackles on New England, those are the weak spots. They want to run the football because they're very good interior, center, guards. Tackles, weak spots. Especially whether it's penalties, pass protection, they cannot live like that in this football game. So the Chiefs, even if the Patriots don't get themselves behind, the Chiefs are going to be in a good situation if they just don't let the Patriots get into third and 3, third and 4. Get them into third and 6, third and 7, second and 9, second and 10. You do that, New England's in trouble.
Yeah, no argument whatsoever. And it's worth noting, we talked about it last week. On the pod right here, saying, from a spot standpoint, from the Chargers, 5th road game in 7 weeks, all with time changes, back-to-back early start games back east. It was a tough spot for the Chargers last week, and they played like it. They stunk early on. And then when the Patriots get up 28-0, they're going to win that game. Things broke right for New England last week in a lot of ways. Not going to be as easy by any stretch of the imagination this week for the Pats at Arrowhead, although certainly when you talk about postseason track records, Belichick has been able to trump Reed, although the one time they've met in the postseason in the past, it was Reed who got the money with the Eagles as 7-point dogs against New England in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was...
although the Patriots still won the game, and Donovan McNabb got famous for barfing.
And also got famous. I know the whole thing about them, what was that? That was like the non-hurry-up offense.
Yeah,
I remember how things weren't. They needed to catch up, and they were like huddling and all that kind of stuff. So, that didn't go well for them. But yeah, good point. Even though Reed lost, they did cover the game. If you want to go with those sort of things. All right. So anyway, Chiefs a 3-point favorite in the AFC Championship game and the NFC Championship game. What's interesting is that both of these games that were played, as far as these matchups earlier this season, had the same kind of results. The scoring definitely was pretty similar, but also the winners had big halftime leads. They allowed the losers to come back, tie or take the quick lead like the Chiefs, and then the winners were still able to hold on, score late, and win. And that's what happened with the Saints and the Rams when the Saints had a 35-14 lead, 35-17 at the half, and then the Rams came back to tie the game at 35. What I remember specifically about that game was how much As soon as they tied that game, and Goff was real good, the team was real good on the comeback. As soon as they tied the game, and as soon as they went down, I think it was 3, and Goff got the ball back with a chance to go down the field and score, those 3 passes were the worst 3 passes I have ever seen Goff throw. You could tell he could not handle the pressure. It went like that from him being zoom, zoom, zoom down the field. Oh, we tied the game. Now we're down by 3. Now I can win the game. And the pressure was too much for him. That's why for the Rams to win this game, McVay understood what he had to do last week, and McVay knows he's got to do the same thing this week. They also, like the Patriots, the Rams have got to run the football.
Neither of these, when we look back at that first meeting between these two teams, 45-35, there was a ton of big plays in that ball game. Neither offense is anything like what they were back in, what was that, October? Maybe the beginning of November? These two teams combined were, 950 yards of offense in that ball game, 54 first downs. But it was the big plays, 9.8 yards per pass for L.A., 9.6 yards per pass attempt for New Orleans. That was then. This is now. All right? The Saints' downfield passing game has been limited. I'll leave it at that. Michael Thomas, their lone legit weapon at receiver, is really tough to stop, but he's not making downfield plays. A lot of Kamara throws from Drew Brees. That's how he has that incredible completion percentage this season, because it's mostly dink and dunk. And it's more dink and dunk of late. We saw a lot of that last week against Philly, and we really saw a lot of that down there. This isn't a Saints offense that's been clicking down the stretch. It's a Saints offense that's been stumbling down the stretch. And with the Rams, you nailed it. You talked about it. Yeah, Goff used to be the chuck it all around the field guy. You said it was the worst 3 passes he's ever thrown. You didn't see the Bears game then.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Because Goff had a lot of bad passes in that game. He had a good handful last week against Dallas. Goff is not Drew Brees yet. Not when it comes to your confidence in this QB in a big game. And if the Rams are going to win here, you better believe it's going to be C.J. Anderson left and Melvin Gordon, or not Todd Gurley right, and that's likely to be their game plan. Total in this game. Oh, that's in the dome. They'll fly. Oh, I'm not buying that. I think both of these teams, from a what are they doing now standpoint, these are not over teams anymore. This is not a shootout game. Total sitting at 57 right now. I think that's a good not
huge.
Too high. And, of course, it's got to. There were 80 points scored the first meeting between the two.
Yeah, but that is high for a playoff game. And look, that's the thing about these two teams. They can play defense, and especially the Saints. Look at the Saints last week. One of the things we talked about going into last week was how the favorites, the top-seeded teams like the Saints, weren't necessarily playing great going into the postseason. But the Saints were the only team out of that group that actually kind of continued that trend, where they won the game. It certainly wasn't pretty the way they won it. Maybe they wouldn't have won if Jeffrey, one of the best pass catchers in the game, didn't flukily miss the pass and it gets picked off. So that and look, they're 0-4 ATS last 4 Saints. That actually leads me to go, well, 3.5. I can lose by 3 and cover the game. I mean, the way the Saints are going, why don't I think this is going to be a nip and tuck game moving forward? And I definitely look. The only big advantage I think that the Saints have, besides of course Cooper Kupp not being available, but that's been half the season, and he got hurt in this game, I think, right? I think this was the game he got hurt.
I don't remember.
I think it was this one. Yeah, I think it was this one. I know he got hurt twice, once against Denver and once against the Saints, I believe. And the other one, of course, is Goff. That's the big one. It's just like Mahomes. How is Goff going to respond to the pressure? We don't know. He hasn't been there before. It's a guessing game as far as Goff's concerned. Other than that, I mean, these two teams are pretty damn even. But that's just sort of like a similar edge that you talked about with Belichick and Reed. I mean, you say what you want about how good McVay is and Goff, like Mahomes and Reed. Fact is, Peyton and Breeze have been there, done that, won a ton of games, won a Super Bowl. They're at home. That's the edge. That's why they're favorite. But I think they're a stronger, to me, I think they're a little bit more of a confident. Now, I'm not saying I'm taking the Saints over and not taking the Chiefs. I just think that they're a little bit more of a confident favorite because of Peyton and Breeze matchup than Mahomes and Reed against Belichick and Brady.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Kupp got hurt the following week against Seattle after the New Orleans game.
Okay.
5 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown. Against the Saints the following week was the last week that he played this season for Kupp. And it's worth noting, from a pure value standpoint, all right, the Rams, they scored on what they punted. They punted once last week, and it was an insane punt. I still can't believe McVay punted in that spot. Worked out for them, but they punted on like 4th and short from inside Dallas territory, up by 1 score, which is not what we're used to seeing from McVay. It ended up working out in his favor, but the offense moved the ball up and down the field with 1 punt, and yet they cover the spread by a hook. The Saints last week didn't cover the point spread. So you have everyone that bet on the Rams won last week, and everyone that bet on the Saints lost last week, and that means there's a bandwagon on L.A., and there's not a bandwagon on New Orleans in the same way. It's very real in the postseason. From a value standpoint, the fact that the Saints didn't cover last week is probably a big part of the reason why you can still find -3s with New Orleans this week, even though a lot of people I talked to expected this line to get bet up to 4 before kickoff.
Okay. And by the way, first time the Rams are a dog this year. So, they're not the Patriots, though, where I think it means something. The big, like we're not going the big bad Rams or the dogs for the first time, like the Patriots and Edelman, and we're being disrespected kind of thing. Rams haven't earned that, but it's just a point to make that they haven't been a dog yet this year. So
yeah, I'm just double checking that
because they were a 1.5 favorite in that game against the Saints.
By kickoff, they might. They were. They didn't open up as the favorite in that game.
Yeah, and I got that on covers. They were 1.5 point dog in the game because that's what covers does, right?
Well, I mean, the covers will always use a closing line, and they don't necessarily always use a Vegas line either.
Got it.
Just double check. Yeah, I don't see them as dogs in any game this year.
All right,
you are correct. Not even close, really. I mean, that's the only game
that was the one. Yeah, that was the one. All right, so that is going to wrap it up. Now, we're going to be on Tuesday, you and I, to recap the championship games and just kind of do an early preview, very early preview about the Super Bowl and anything else that we're going to gear up for the following Thursday when we get back to our normal schedule. So looking forward to doing that, Teddy. And this is, again, this is big time of year, so... were you satisfied, by the way, last week? Because 3 of those games were pretty bad. If you're a fan.
I'm no fan. The only thing I care about is whether I'm cashing bets. I'm not a fan. I don't care if it's good football or ugly football. I like winners. Last week I split out, so it wasn't a great weekend. It certainly wasn't a disaster. So I thought it was okay.
All right. Sounds good. Teddy, appreciate it. Hopefully this weekend will be a lot better than okay for you, and we'll talk to you about it on Tuesday.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks, Ted. That's Ted Sevransky of Covers.com, a.k.a. Teddy Covers. And you can tweet Teddy. Again, also, like you said, you've got any responses regarding... Actually, what was that regarding? I don't even remember what that was about anymore. At Teddy_Covers. I forget what that was about. Anyway... that's his Twitter handle. And you can find all of his guaranteed picks at experts.covers.com. All right, so Dave Koken will be with me tomorrow. And we'll get our 3rd handicapper of the week, as we normally do here on the OFN Today from Covers.com. So again, Dave Koken tomorrow. And then that's it. We're all set for the championship games. We'll be back on Tuesday with Teddy. And that's all. Dave and Mark will join me Super Bowl week with Teddy as we preview the Super Bowl. So, but we'll be back tomorrow with Dave Koken to talk more about these two games. For Teddy Sevransky, I'm Greg DePalma, Alpha Mike Foxtrot.